I apologize.
Jeff had a rough week last week, and I'm not here to dogpile. Plenty of people have had plenty to say. However, when he released this apology/explanation video, he said something about the reason that he voted yes that I've heard a bunch of Congress members who did vote yes claim, so I just want to address that. First, this is what he said.
I'm also in Congress, and I've been a part of some briefings about this app that were genuinely alarming. On the one hand, I have information about this app that isn't public. This would just be a better app if we didn't have to worry about the stuff that comes with it being potentially controlled by an adversarial government.
So, of course, the big question is, does China pose a risk to America through their ownership of TikTok, even though they don't own TikTok? And members of Congress have said, we've seen stuff that says yes. That's why we voted yes. You can't see the things we've seen. So they're operating under the trust me, bro clause. And a lot of people have a problem with that. But while I don't think Jeff is lying, I think Jeff has been in meetings where he was shown stuff. I don't believe that either the people who showed it to him were being honest or that they fully understood what they were showing. And I have good reason to believe they are not a threat, even with that behind-the-scenes information that they've seen. And the first reason is Jim Himes. He is the leading Democrat on the Intelligence Committee. You know, intelligence. Like if there's intelligence about how China is a threat to America and might try and interfere with our election or gather our data through TikTok, he would know about it. And Jim voted no. In fact, he didn't just vote no. He also posted a statement on Twitter as to why he voted no, and he went on to news programs and did interviews expressing why he voted no, and I'm just going to let him tell you himself.
But as a top Democrat on the Intel Committee, you voted against this.
Yep.
You voted against it. So tell me why.
Yeah, look, as the top Democrat on the Intelligence Committee, I have a pretty good and specific feel for what the Chinese threat is. I also know that while it is a very serious potential threat, meaning they could demand information from TikTok, personal information. By the way, they can buy that information, too. They can steal that information. They're pretty good at that.
Right, I guess that's what I was saying.
We do worry that maybe in a moment of crisis, they would use that platform to try to insert messages. But here's why I voted no. First of all, it was enormously rushed. Secondly, when you say states have banned it, one state banned it, and the United States Federal District Court said you cannot ban it. There are First Amendment implications at stake. That's the state of Montana. So I am a very serious First Amendment person. And the notion that the United States, and I understand the risks, I really do, would say we are going to ban this venue for 150 million Americans to express themselves, to have political conversations. You know, there may be a way to square that circle, but it doesn't happen in a 3-day legislative process that was constricted. And oh, by the way, remember, we tell countries, we tell Vladimir Putin, we tell the Chinese, we tell the Iranians, you shouldn't be shutting down newspapers, television stations, social media sites.
So you say you're being consistent. And
freedom of expression really matters.
So between Jeff Jackson, a first-year congressman, and Jim Himes, who's been in Congress since 2009 and is on the Intelligence Committee, I think Jim probably has a better handle on this information than Jeff does, and that's not an insult to Jeff. But if you don't trust either of them for information and you'd like to see for yourself, there are reports out there, like the one by the Internet Governance Project. They're dedicated to seeking a balance of intellectual property, free speech, and fair use protections in the global internet system. They did a full and detailed report, March of last year, TikTok and U.S. national security. They found that TikTok is a commercially motivated enterprise, not a tool of the Chinese state, that a TikTok ban would harm millions of American users of TikTok who own equity in their creations and followers. That includes a bunch of small businesses that have grown, flourished, or even only exist because of TikTok. A ban would weaken competition in social media and advertising industry. And last but not least, banning TikTok risks retaliation from China against U.S. firms and would legitimize and encourage other countries to censor U.S. apps and online services. Those all sound bad. So by all means, do reach out to your representatives in the Senate and tell them that you don't want this bill to pass. You could email them a link to that study, for example. You could call them and be cordial and respectful and articulate why you're not for it. Or you could just go to the link in my bio and sign this petition. This is from an organization that will then take those signatures, put it in front of those senators and be like, you see all these people? They don't want this. And these are potentially votes that you could lose. So I find that tends to be very motivating.